Hi Homeworthy, I'm Nicola, and this is my home in Yarmouth, Maine. We call it Meeting Hill Farm. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Nicola Manganello, owner of Nicola's Home, a design build firm in Yarmouth, Maine, and welcome to my home. This is a colonial-style 1760s farmhouse that I bought about 7 years ago. And when I stepped inside, it was in disrepair and needed a lot of work. So that's where we embarked on 3 different renovations, and it has just evolved into a very warm, functional house for my family. Over the years, the home has been added onto several times. It's an original John Calvin Stevens design. There was a renovation done where they fixed all 5 fireplaces, so they're beautiful and they're original. The home itself was very chopped up. And as old homes are, it had very little closet space. The floors were different color pines. Some oak had been laid in over the years. So I ended up painting all the floors and laying in the new portion of the house some new floors, just to give the house a little bit of continuity, because it was a little chopped up and it was time for some love. Okay, so this would be considered in my home the formal front foyer, which was a very small space originally. It's not very large right now, but it had a very steep set of old, original to the house staircase that went to the second floor as a second egress. In the renovation, I chose to take it out to make this room bigger and to add a bathroom upstairs. So it's those kind of decisions that had to happen to make this house function for us now. And I designed this front door. This is a custom door done by Nicola's Home. I love designing doors, and this one is my favorite one. So it's 4-foot door, so it's nice and wide. So when you open it, it has all kinds of heft. We redid this front, and these I got these at an antique place. They have a little bit of pink in them, which I really love the warmth of. So I did side lights with our custom door, and I think this is really in keeping with the time period of the house, and just added another element of light. We had put in a limestone floor here just to be practical coming in from the weather, and I think it's a nice entryway into both my dining and my living room. My grandson loves playing with these sheep. I've had these forever. I mean, literally. I honestly don't remember where I got them. I think an antique store. But I have like little sheep all over the house, and they're just things I collect. I just think that sheep are so cute. This doubles as, it hangs my linens. And it's just, I also have a hidden closet over here where I hide linens as well, because I do like to entertain a lot, and so I do collect old linens. So this stores my linens. These are vintage chairs that I found. I believe I got these down in Texas, and they're really small and cute. But you know, when I have a large party, you do find people sitting in all the little corners. So I did want to have something soft in this space, and I thought these kind of framed the armoire lovely. And I collect antique rugs all the time. This one had just the simplicity to it, being that it had this navy trellis pattern, and I think that it was just perfect for how I was using blue in the home, and honestly, it wears wonderfully. I find a lot of these old rugs do. I think with the color story in my home, this area does kind of set you up to see how the colors flow from room to room. I think the pink in the side lights is just a small gesture of what you're going to see throughout the home. Pink is one of my favorite colors. I just love its blushiness and how it does make you feel wonderful. Blue is a staple, and also beige. And I think white woodwork, you're going to see that mostly because the home had a lot of original woodwork. So I think that that's going to also be a story throughout the home. So now I'd love to show you my living room, which is one of the coziest rooms in my home. Now we're in the living room, And this is probably one of my favorite rooms in the house. It is where I spend a lot of time in the evening. It was a long, skinny room, so it was really hard to work with. And this is the original room for the house. We have made some changes in the room where I opened this up a little bit more to the rest of the house and added this metal window just as a sort of point of detail to help divide the space but let the light come in still. The fireplace is original to the room, which is our absolute favorite. It's the biggest fireplace in the home. And this is kind of where we do the holidays too. So this is a major room for family gatherings and things like that. But the chaise is where I end up at night and watching television and reading and sitting by the fire. This room, I wanted to feel, it was all white when we moved in, all the woodwork. So I had a faux finisher come in and did this beautiful layered process to make this look a little more striated and just gave the room a warmth. I didn't want to darken it, so it's like a really light beigey color, almost a washed white oak look. So just did that throughout to help the mood. I added a beautiful grass cloth to help give the walls some texture, but just a little background to offset the sort of subdued colors in this room. Again, there's pops of pink and a little bit of orange in this room, which has been nice. And I think, again, it's just showing that, you know, that transitional beige with accent colors is just sort of a trend in the home. These are chairs I made out of quilts that I designed for a company called Garnet Hill, and they're very old, but they are like the most comfortable chairs in the house. And this is where we really relax and enjoy the home, right here. You know, I grew up in Yarmouth, and it is a coastal community, and from the upstairs we can see the ocean from here, so we're not far from it. And I've always loved these little carved, I've been collecting these over time. They're little fishermen. Maybe we threw a pirate in there too, but I just think that they're whimsical and fun, a different sense of art in the home. This is an old break front. This was my mother-in-law's piece that she gave to us, which I love. And so it's important, like, to make space for things that you maybe wouldn't have purchased on your own, but that are important, sentimental. So that's what this is. And so I love this little piece. I was in New York City, and it was nighttime. I was in a cab, and I passed an antique store, and this was lit in the window. And I called them the next day, and they had a pair of them. And the scale of them is just beautiful, as you can see, the shade and everything. So I just knew they had to come home with me. They are very antique. They're lovely. They're probably maybe one of the nicest things I have in the house, because I do collect a lot of old things and things that I find in junk shops and antique shops. So these really help with the color story, I think, in the room too. I don't usually migrate to reds and rust colors, but there was just something about them. They made such a statement, and I think they're in keeping with the antique home feel. I think they're beautiful. I am a huge fan of, like, antique pine, old farm tables, and I think that, you know, positioning antiques in this home just adds the warmth that I think it needs. Where there wasn't a lot of wood paneling here, it was all painted. I feel like the house needed that. This is, I do collect these. I have another one on the other side of the room that's an antique pine one that's really simple. But I don't know what it is about the lines. I mean, Yarmouth is a coastal community, and I tend to always migrate to these things when I'm at antique shows. So I do love kind of working them in a lot of the homes that I do. Artwork is definitely something throughout the house that some of it's new, but some of it's been found and repurposed. And I love color, muted colors, and I think sometimes old paintings just capture that. The drapes in this room, however, are ready-made drapes. These are from Anthropology. So, you know, I think that even though it's sort of a high-level room and it has a lot of beautiful furniture in it, I'm not usually afraid to use a ready-made drape, because I think sometimes it's just the texture is what makes it work. So it's not necessarily these lined, heavy, expensive drapes. But I love these because they had these little wool sort of pom-poms on them, and I just think they were just enough. They let light through, not hugely expensive, but very effective. Originally looked at this house because I had a friend who was a groundskeeper here, and he mentioned that the home was going to be coming for sale. I was not looking for a project because I had a 8,000 square feet that I was renting down the street that was a store and a design firm. And when I saw the barn on this property, I was like, I had to rethink everything and quickly. So it had mules in the barn and chickens, and so I was like, how can I make this all happen? The project really was the barn in the beginning, and that's what I turned into my design firm and office. So that was really the priority in the beginning, and that's why these sort of small renovations have happened over the years to the home. The home itself, in its raw form when I found it, it had a lot of beautiful woodwork and paneling and things that I wanted to keep. Certainly needed to get them stripped and redone just to bring out those elements of history that the home, that was so beautiful about the home. I think that I wanted the home to have a lot more continuity, like I said, and I wanted it to be brighter. So opening up some walls, making some rooms larger was really allowing, there was just beautiful large windows with the old wavy glass, and it really allowed the home to sparkle in a way. So I wanted to enhance the home with new light fixtures, paint colors that were, I think I only have like 5 paint colors in the whole home. So it's like, I like that ease of how you can move from room to room and not feel, that sort of jarring separation. Okay, so coming out of the living room, we come into this space that at first I wasn't really quite sure what to do with, because this is where the house ended, the 1760s farmhouse ended, and an addition was put on prior to me buying the home. So this actually was the original kitchen for the home, because it has the traditional like cooking arm for pots to hang on. It has a beautiful beehive oven, which we've cooked pizza in, that totally functions and works. And it's just amazing how well things were built back then that it still works beautifully today. So this is more of a little comfortable area looking onto the kitchen. We have these beautiful Maguire chairs that are kind of, I would say, a little more contemporary, but super comfortable. So oftentimes this is a place where we just sit, we play some backgammon, have a drink, and it's just another nook in the house that is comfortable for us. So I wanted to make sure that all these areas really just said comfort. My husband would say it's a problem, the pillow problem, but I'm an absolute pillow freak. So I find them and I buy them and I layer them in, and I just feel like this one came with the chair, but this I just felt like added another layer. And I think with the blanket, I think texture is huge for me, and I think it is what makes my home warm. So I try not to do it so there's no room to sit on the chair, but occasionally that can happen too. But I layer, I use sisal, I use a lot of natural fiber rugs, and then I put the more durable rugs over it, because I feel like it gives a ground to show off some of these beautiful antique rugs. Some of them have more color than others, but I mean, I think that layering is a part of what I do in my design. Another quirky piece that I found, it's sort of like a federal looking piece, kind of in keeping with the home, but the colors are like, they just work. Browns, greens, cream. I felt like it looked cute with the tile. We did this clay tile to cover this one. I did this on a couple of the fireplaces just because I felt like it just gave it a little more light and brightness, and I felt like the home needed a little pop of color here and there. Interestingly enough, sometimes when you're working with clients, some things don't always work out, and I had a bunch of these sconces. They have lucite in them, which I think is beautiful because from the side you can kind of see through them. But so I had a bunch, so I put this sconce throughout the whole home and just carried that theme. This fabric actually I created on my own. We had this made up, the pattern, and then I just covered these shades just because I felt like this needed like a little bit of, with all the white shade just didn't set off from it, so I did a little fun whimsical shade for them. This painting in particular, I mean, this is just a perfect example of, this is a local artist here in Maine, and the way that she paints and her handle on color is just something that really speaks to me, because I feel like this modeled approach she has to creating figures, it's just like every painting I'm just completely drawn into, because I feel like I move them around the house because they work in like any room, but they bring color to the space. And in this particular one, it has all the colors of my house, so it's just really a great place to feature that. The artist's name is Tori Dorsey, and she's in Freeport, Maine, and Liz Moss Gallery carries all of her stuff, and it's great. Let me show you my dining room next. Come with me. So this is the dining room, which didn't used to be. This used to be an office, actually, and it was a really small room. And you can tell by the beam in the ceiling where we open things up. And of course, in renovation, as you find, you do things sometimes quickly. We realized that this was going to be the center of the room because of how we wanted to set everything up. But I think that the way we found balance here can work. So it has a beautiful fireplace that's original to the home, which we love using when we entertain. This is an old table, not antique. It was newer. It has like 5 leaves. It seats like up to 15, 16 people. So we call it the gathering table. This is a table made here in Maine, and it stretches out the whole room. So I tend to hold a lot of the holidays. But I think that, you know, these hickory chairs that I have at the end that I've covered in this cool fabric, you know, I mean, I think like adding in these layers of furniture with these antique painted white dining chairs, I think like these little elements just kind of give it an eclectic feel, and that it gives the texture that I'm looking for. So this is a beautiful silk iCot runner that I've had for years, and it's very neutral. I've had these chickens forever. I love them. They're kind of like a little bit of sculpture in the house. Sometimes they're on the floor places. They travel around. But I thought this time of year, it's kind of, we're heading into, you know, Easter season and spring, that I love to bring a little bit of spring into the space just to come off the holidays. So this bird chandelier, this is an Arteriers piece. I don't think they carry it anymore, but I do get a lot of comments on this. You know, it's got all these different shaped crystal birds, and I just think it's really whimsical for a farmhouse, and it's a great focal piece. So oftentimes when we're dining in the dining room, we kind of linger all night, and so I do like having comfortable furniture in this space as well, because some people will just sort of break off and have a glass of wine. And I had this sofa that actually a friend gave me, and I just redid it. And it was too big for her house, and I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect to kind of anchor this end of my dining room. And we just, you know, I just kept it very simple. But the layering of the pillows, I think, is kind of what's key about it, and you just want to sink into it. So this is kind of a very comfortable end of the dining room. I'm also featuring here my Sailor Valentines, which I absolutely adore. My husband got them for me in Nantucket over a couple of years of staying out there. And sailors used to make these and ship them home to their loved ones. And so they're just these very intricate shell art that I think is really a beautiful texture for my home. Of course, it's got pink and all white, and I just think they're so sweet. So originally, these were bookshelves in the office, and I left them here. So I could have had something custom done, but I was thinking, I had been carrying around these. They were much longer, and they were paneled, so I thought, what if I cut them and mounted them to the front here? Can that work? Because I needed storage. Obviously, I love setting a table. So I needed storage, and so I mounted them here, and I think it works. I mean, I think that this is sort of the, you know, the proper storage that I was looking for in the dining room, and it has proven to be unbelievably effective. I think my favorite china is from this Italian company. And the girls at the office are buying me this. Like every Christmas they get me a piece. It's very special, but it comes in beautiful colors, and I absolutely adore it. And I just feel like I'm an old Martha Stewart fan from way, way back. So setting a table for me is like an art form. And I tend to really layer in the dishes and everything. So I do collect cute little things to make the table interesting for the different seasons and stuff. So both old and new, I have lots of dishes. So probably the only corner of the house that my husband did is the bar area. This was an essential that he wanted in the renovation. So he's a bit of a mixologist, and we do love to entertain. So this is a blend of new and old. So these doors and all the drawer fronts and door fronts on this piece were original John Calvin Stevens. It was a china cabinet in the old home. And so I wanted to keep them in the home. And so I designed this bar area to be just really practical and functional. We have an ice maker, 2 refrigerator drawers, and just proper storage for the stuff that we need to have here. And a little sink. So it helps us properly, have the glasses we need in this area and access everything. It's been a game changer. So this is a waterworks tile that I had been eyeing for a long time. And I really think like in a bar area with glass and everything and a little bit of under cabinet lighting, the sparkle and the dimension that the mirror tile gives is really nice. And so I think that was and it's kind of an antiqued mirror, so that just takes it to the next level, I think. So I did a little weekend project, and I actually did it right in the cabinets as well. And again, I think it just adds depth and dimension, taking the lighting from the front of the house, and I think it's great. I love it. When people walk into my home, I want them to feel welcome, comfortable. We're not really a home that takes off our shoes. I want it to feel broken in and livable. I don't ever want anything to feel too precious. I think that broken in casual feeling has a beauty that you can't really replicate. So I feel like that's a part of the history, and the wear and tear of the home is just important. So that's what I think makes people feel comfortable about coming to my home. My favorite part of my home is the kitchen, because growing up, my dad was always cooking. We were always gathered at the kitchen island, so I have 2 kitchen islands in this home. And and lots of comfortable seating around it, because this is where everybody lands, and this is kind of where the party is. And so I'm usually cooking, and it's just, I would call it my happy place. I think that where my family comes and we all join here, and I'm cooking, and the smells and everything, it's really the best part of the house. So as you can see, we're moving into the kitchen from the dining room, and this is very open space, very open concept. And I have introduced 2 islands in this home, because this I knew is going to be where the gathering would be done. So we have a lot of different features that I took a lot of time to design this, knowing that it was going to be open and be such a focal point. I didn't want it to seem, I wanted it to feel a little more like furniture at times and utilitarian, so I can dress it up or down. I think that this island was really a feature of function for us and the way that we live. And at the end, because I was trying to balance the function that we needed, we did a cutting big, thick butcher block down here for carving and displaying things. This is a great spot for it. I did this small trough sink from Kohler that we fill with ice. It can also be a prep sink because it has a garbage disposal. So, it just has this dual purpose for entertaining that is like kind of fun and interesting, and it's sort of like this element in this island that I think is interesting to everybody. I did a lot of drawer storage in this house, and I think that my biggest concerns with adding all these windows, because I really wanted windows to the counter and I wanted all this light, was the absence of upper cabinets. And so the shelving, which suspends from the ceiling from metal rods, this is a 2-inch white oak, and this is perfect for all the things I need to grab quickly, and I think it displays them nice as well. So it's like, it's fashionable yet really practical. I love my refrigerator that I think is a break in the room. This tower of white oak, I think, helps with the white lowers. It just is an element of depth here in the middle that kind of helped me break the space up a little bit. So it gave a point of interest. I used not make the hardware so like crazy decorative, I did lucite. This is a polished nickel, and just kept it really simple and clean. This was an absolute necessity because I want to be able to grab and do things quickly. And so this practical storage of my cookie sheets and butcher blocks has been such a cool element for me that I can just be quick about it. And it's all like right at my hand. We did a 2-inch Danby, which is a Vermont stone. And it's sort of what I think now is becoming more popular, taking over for Calcutta gold a little bit. I think that it has a very even, beautiful white tone to it, and it has some soft browns and gray in it. And the veining varies from stone to stone, but I just think it's the right color for for a lot of it. So, and we did the sink. The sink is actually, this is how you can tell it's so similar to Calcutta. The sink is Calcutta gold because this is a better stone for this use. And so this is a big trough sink for washing dishes, and it goes really well with the Danby stone. So originally, they're a crate and barrel stool that I covered myself. So I think that they were just super comfortable. They fit under the counter, so I didn't want them to have backs and be up, but I wanted the little bit of texture and detail and color here. But again, crate and barrel is a wonderful resource for contemporary style that I think can blend in an old home. We did this design. This is all done out of white oak. Nicola's Home designed it, and we've done the different variations of this, but it sort of is like a nod to a farm table, and I think it just needed, the expansiveness needed these weighted legs on each end. And what I love is that there's a space between the island and the major legs, so it really does feel like it's holding up this massive piece of stone. We have plenty of seating in this house, but I felt like it really needed a table to sit at, because sometimes you want to sit in the round. So I do like to use banquettes and sofas, obviously because I love to layer pillows and I want to be comfortable and sit for a while. So I did beautiful wicker chairs that have a beautiful wood element, and I just think this is just another comfortable space in the kitchen for us to gather and enjoy it. So off the kitchen, we have this sort of what I would consider a 3-season screen porch. What I love about this area is that in the summertime, these are screens and these windows pop out. And so when we can do storms like these in the wintertime, I have these giant heat sail, which are also decorative, these sort of lamps that put off heat, so we can heat this in the wintertime and be out here enjoying it if we have a large gathering. So obviously the family favorite thing is the swing, where my daughter tends to take naps and stuff, and that's always a beautiful place to lay in the summertime. Again, it has a full outdoor kitchen. We have refrigerator drawers, ice maker, because if you live in Maine, you eat lobster in the summertime. So this is a power burner. So it boils water really fast, and I can kind of keep the smell outside of the home. So this is really practical for a Mainer. And again, just we do the grilling, we have a uni pizza oven, and I just think like I love to cook and I love to have people come over and enjoy it. And so this has just been another bonus space for us that was a really good decision and part of the renovation. So now we're in the family room, which is directly off the kitchen. This is kind of where we sit a lot early in the evening, just because I tend to watch the news here and stuff. There is a big TV. And, these beautiful doors open up to our outdoor patio. And then it has these textured bookshelves, of which my daughter color-coded all my books for me so perfectly. She did that during the pandemic, so I've kind of kept it that way. And it's just sort of another comfortable space in the house that we sit and gather in this, sort of big overstuffed furniture. And it's really comfortable. So this is another little whimsical piece that I had found. Actually, this is from Anthropology. And it has a little sheep, which of course I loved. And I felt like, I didn't want a dense wooden table here. I wanted something a little more airy. So the size of it I felt was just sort of whimsical and fun, and is a perfect place to set my drink at night. So how I've kind of solved this whole open concept in my house is there's areas where there's rugs, and the rugs kind of all color coordinate in a way, but the seating areas are sort of on top of them, and it helps kind of make these special spaces within a much larger space. And so I think that if you're struggling with a large space, this is a good way to kind of bring in different heights of things that can help make divisions. And like this foyer table, just it sort of identifies this as breaking it from the front door area. And I just think that those kind of breaks in an open space help create smaller spaces. So this is really the area in the home that everybody enters into. Again, we've done another Nicola's home, large 4-foot wide door. Everyone usually this is off the driveway side of the house. And this is, it has an indoor, outdoor carpet here that is just not precious. So they come right in, drop their shoes or wipe their shoes. And this is kind of where I greet everybody all the time. So I want it to be warm and inviting. I have an antique pine chest, another storage piece over here. But it's just sort of a nice greeting area that is warm to come into. So next I'd love to show you the primary bedroom and bath. Come with me. So welcome to my primary bedroom. This obviously, when I designed it, I wanted it to feel like a bit of a sanctuary for me to come escape. And of course, there's elements of pink, which I love. There's a simplicity to it because I did choose to do a gray on the woodwork and then a light beigey gray grass cloth, which I'm a huge fan of grass cloth because it adds texture to a space without adding pattern, So it's sort of a nice layer. It has an original John Calvin Stevens fireplace, which is nice. We have done gas log sets in some of these fireplaces because the idea of lugging wood and everything can be difficult. Okay, because I have alluded to the fact that pink is my favorite color, and I realize that is a more feminine color in the color scale, but I think for me, pink is like at this blushy tone that adds warmth to an otherwise kind of cooler room. So the pinks that I'm using, when I consider pink, I'm using like almost like a purple burgundy, maybe more plum in this check duvet cover, but it's sort of like there's a bunch of different ranges here. And I think that we just layer them in. It's to create a soft bedroom, not a flowery floral bedroom. So I think that there's ways, and I do think that the plum color has helped kind of like soften that and bring that down. But I think that otherwise there's a lot of beige, a lot of neutrals, and just little pops like in the drapery and in the pillows. So I think that pink can be used in this way and not be a room that doesn't include my husband. Much like the rest of the house, I've used some contemporary elements. I consider this kind of more mid-century looking, and as well probably this bench. I think that with the traditional pieces that I have, adding in these elements helps give it a little bit more of a contemporary feel and not so stodgy. So I think that, with the artwork, both old and new, and then obviously, pictures of my daughter, that, it's just supposed to be like a tranquil feel. So coming off the primary bedroom is the master bath. And this was, challenging in the space that we had. I know that I wanted a double vanity. I personally love to have a shelf, and I usually have more things stacked on top of this. I think that what I was trying to get out of this space was all the things we've wanted in a primary bath, but in a little bit of a smaller space. So how I achieve that is, medicine cabinets, that light, so that gives extra storage. We have these large drawers down here that are well organized with the things we need. And I think that, the ability to have a steam shower was something, with the bench, was something that we really wanted. And so how we did that is we did a rain shower, and we were able to sort of get all this in. And I think, and what's interesting is that I had a little laundry closet in the hallway that I made part of this space, and I added some old doors to it. And this is where we have a nice little private toilet room back here. So I think that, not to be afraid to borrow from other spaces during a renovation, and that I think this is really key in a master bath to have, in a nice master bath, to have a private toilet room. And so again, when it comes to hardware in places, I think that I like to keep it simple. I like it to be very functional, but I have in this house used a lot of the lucite because it has that transparency, so it doesn't draw a ton of attention, but yet it's still really sharp. Everyone always asks me how I started in this line of work, and basically I went to art school for college and I had a creative mind. I was a sculpture major and I did large form installations. So I transitioned after college into buying small little old homes and renovating and flipping them. I actually lived in them, which wasn't always so great, but I think that's really where I got the bug to renovate and build and do interior design for people. I think once you delve into it, if it's something that really speaks to you, as it did me, there was no turning back. So as an interior designer and building important spaces for other families to live in, and all the decision making all day that we make with other families and people, I really feel that when I come home at night, I like it just the way I left it. I've got the house to a point right now where I'm just very comfortable with it, and I don't feel the need to change anything. I think that when special things come up like this and Homeworthy comes into my house, I of course did a little bit of quick freshening, but I like to check out at night a little bit and kind of regenerate for the next day so I can help people with their homes. I think if you're going to embark on a journey of renovation with a home, whether it's old or new, I think that you want to go into it with open eyes. I often think a good thing to do is do your research, get some professionals into the home, figure out the structurals, because I think a lot of people just tear down walls and that can be problematic at times. But I think before you either purchase the home or try it, you've got to really do the background work to make sure that all the things you want it to look like can actually happen. So I think that, transformation is very possible, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to just get a little bit of extra advice, and it will save you a big headache on the other end. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to what we call a little gem on the property, and it is my daughter's home, but it's really a guest home. And it is a old barber shop that was downtown Yarmouth, Maine. And when I originally bought the property, it was behind the barn. And I wanted to have it be part of between the home and the barn to create more of a beautiful cluster. And so we actually picked it up and moved it and put it on a foundation over here. And it's adorable. I can't wait to show you. Okay, so here we are in the guest house. Currently, my daughter Maeve lives here, and it was a storage building for me, and I held all my salvage doors and things in it. But when we had chosen to finish it, we picked it up from behind the barn and moved it sort of to round out the property here, we decided to finish it and have guest quarters on the property. So the furniture in here is this is an old sofa of mine, but my daughter loves it. And it's sort of a mix mash of her furniture and mine, as you do with apartment living. She likes to keep things kind of in her own style, which it is her home right now, so I let her do that. But just to explain what we did to this property is we totally finished. It was just a framed property. So we did all the woodwork. We left the old windows because of the size of them and the grandeur, and I just put storms on the outside. I didn't really want to get into that level of investment with this part of the property. So I wanted it to be energy efficient and hold heat well, but I kept it really simple in the renovation process. However, I did think that if people were going to stay here, and I know that my daughter's a huge baker, I think that it needed a full kitchen. And where it's so small, I wanted to make sure there was a place to gather. This peninsula is the old island from my home. And so I stored it in my warehouse, and We put a new countertop on it here and situated it like this. And I'm glad I kept it because all of the functionality of the island, the trash, the cabinetry, she needs the storage. So I think even though it's big in such a small space, it helps delineate between the living room and the kitchen. And I think that I think it looks great and fits really well in style. So she has basically all she could ever need. She has a beautiful Sub-Zero refrigerator, a range and oven, and then a wonderful farm sink. And I think that it's just in keeping with the property and the style of my home. And what was great about this is we could use some things that were left over for some of the other construction jobs we did, like this tile. And it was just like a good way to kind of piece in some stuff that was laying around. What I love about this the most is that when I walk home from work every night is I stop here and we have a visit and we get caught up on our day. And so I feel very blessed that she wants to still live here and that we can just stay connected in this way. So I do. I absolutely love having her here. All right, let's go check out the barn where my office is. Come with me. So I'm going to show you the barn, which was, when I purchased the property, it was completely unfinished. It truly was a barn. It had mules and chickens in it, and it was a project. So this is literally the project that I tackled first because the importance of moving here to this property was my office. And I think what it's turned into really reflects kind of our style at Nicola's home, and I can't wait to show you. So this is the foyer of the barn, which is and meant to be, the entire barn used to be all 2 stories and there was just timber frame. So we obviously needed to create spaces within the barn so that it was more for what we needed for showroom space. But the one thing I didn't want to give up is when people came in that they, had the awe of the old barn and seeing some of the timber frame. And so these boards were actually from the barn and we reused them here on the walls. So I left the foyer kind of rustic to sort of preserve the history of what it is. I think originally an interesting note about this barn is it was attached to the house and was moved over here in the 80s. So, which was handy for me, but still, these buildings moving around like this, we do this all the time. And I just think it's a kind of a cool fact. It's gone through different iterations over the last 7 years that I've been here, but now this whole first floor is showroom for us. So when the clients come in, this is really where we show our goods and lay everything out and have them make decisions. There's furniture here that we can customize for them so they can sit in it. We do a lot of high-end custom work. And we want it to feel homey and special for them so they really feel the sense of what we can create in their own home. So we have these big, beautiful design tables that function for everything we need. So the space really it displays the library of samples we keep, and we're starting to feature some fabrics and stuff that we love to use. And so it just has beautiful light, and I think gives the essence of what Nicola's home is. Okay, so this is where all the magic happens, upstairs in the barn. This is where we all have our desks. It's our office space, where we library our samples, where we do the real work, and I clearly don't do it alone. So this is where all the girls sit and take a look around. I have 7 full-time employees. We do drafting, we do interior design. We really do everything sort of soup to nuts for a full build and furnish of a home. We have that ability, and we work with teams of architects and builders as well. So there's a lot of versatility in what we do, but I think this space really helps us do it in an organized way, and it's great for clients to see. What makes my house a home to me is my family and the people that come and enjoy it. It's beautiful. The space that I've created is wonderful, but it's not all necessary for a home to be a place where loved ones come and relax. So for me personally, home is the people in it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.